And we are now here with the head coach of the Perry Panthers, Mr. Zach Slates. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join us coming off of your recent Week 3 matchup. I mean, we were kind of going through some of the high school games throughout the week. I mean, kind of take us through what you guys went through in the matchup and what you guys were able to do to pull out the victory.
I mean, they're rebuilding a little bit. They've gone through 3 coaches in 3 years, so but they got some good players, and they're trying to get it turned around. They're much improved from last year because we scrimmaged them last year in the preseason. And then going up there, we knew they were good. They had some players, and um, you have to stop the big plays when you're playing a team like that. And we gave up a couple of them, and that's something we've been working to improve on all year. We've given up a couple big plays in each game, and we gotta shore up our defense that way, and tackle and get people on the ground.
Now, Coach, you mentioned, limiting the big plays. Talk about it. You hear this all the time, whether you're watching high school, college, professional football, about halftime adjustments. What halftime adjustments did you guys make as you went into the locker room trailing, and then you open up the second half scoring on 3 consecutive drives?
I mean, it's funny because we tell the kids, like, we're not a big X's and O's, halftime adjustments, do this, do that. We just basically we got to play tougher a lot of times. Just be more physically active, and that's our game. Is we're tougher than we got to play like we're tougher than people to give ourselves a chance, because we're not typically as athletic or as big or any of that as the people we play against. And going through the Federal League, I mean, we find ourselves on the short end of that week in and week out, and it's been like that since the beginning. But we pride ourselves on being tougher than the people we play against, and that's what we got to get to.
Well, Coach, obviously one of the big standouts in that game was DeAndre Church, and he's been one of the top offensive performers so far this season. What is it about his game that really adds to Perry's offensive output against opposing defenses?
Yeah, and he's a physically mature young man. I mean, he's strong and he's big, and he pours the ball, and he does not like getting caught when he gets into open field. So he prides himself on not letting that happen. And a couple of our other running backs that have gotten caught, he makes sure to let them know that he does not get caught when he's in open field. So no, he's a competitor, and he really wants to work hard, and he's one of those quiet leaders and does his job, and comes to fight every day.
Perry Panthers head football coach, Coach Slates, is our guest. Coach, now you guys are moving into what I've kind of said, and I know other coaches in the area talk about it, really the second part of your season, because every week you want to win every game, but once Federal League play starts, that is, the first goal for most teams is win the league. But before we get into the game you guys have this week, a question I want to ask is, what is it like now having a full year under your belt as the head coach at the helm at Perry? And, have you done anything different preparing to enter Federal League play now, here being your second year?
I mean, I haven't. I mean, I just think personally, it's come a lot smoother this year than it was last, and being settled in, and not having a lot of those questions of your first time doing this, your first Federal League game that you coach, and just first game that you called on offense, and for my other coaches, they had a lot of firsts as well, because when Wake was here, he did a lot of everything, and he didn't like delegating duties to anybody, and that's, I mean, as a head coach, you understand that, because you want it to be on your shoulders if something screws up, or if you make a bad call, it's going to be your head, not somebody else's. So just having that confidence, and being having a year under my belt, and the year I went through last year, I mean, I don't think anybody else is going to do that again. So yeah, just settled in.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned being settled into your job now, and I mean, obviously, you have a number of people working on your staff that have been able to contribute to Perry, not just this year, but the last. Are there any particular names that you feel that not just the fans, but the people around the area should know that are able to contribute a lot to what you guys have been able to pull off so far this season?
Yeah, I mean, we got a great staff, and a lot of the guys have been here for years, and that was typically that's something that hadn't happened in the past with Wakefield's staffs, is there was a lot of turnover, and we were fortunate enough to have a good group of guys that have stuck together for the last 6 years or so. And I mean, Ethan Keggy's my defensive coordinator, and Tim Wolf. I mean, he helps out on both sides. He helps me on offense. He helps Ethan on defense, and he helps with our youth. He does a great job with that. So he does a little bit of everything, and I mean, he's got some really good coaches: Tyler Ward and Derek Carmichael, and the France brothers, Josh Nettleton, Dan McCormick. They're all great guys. They really bought into the program and are here for the right reasons and improving kids and giving them the best chance we got.
Now, Coach, heading into week 4, you guys will open up Federal League play on the road at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium against the Canton McKinley Bulldogs, which that game will be broadcasted on Big Time Sports come Friday night. What does the week look like? And are you putting any extra emphasis as you do open up Federal League play and you take your team on the road into what some people might think is a very hostile environment, but knowing that McKinley hasn't got off to the start they'd like, and they'll be very hungry as well?
Yeah, I mean, we always do like a championship drill once we get into Federal League play on Wednesday nights, and yeah, I mean, it's a little bit longer weekends, and you know more about the team, so there's more preparation, there's more game planning. When you don't know about somebody, there's a whole lot of question marks when you're going up against them. McKinley's somebody we've played against in the past, so we have a history with each other and know each other a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, going into Benson, we play there, week 2. It's a great facility, great environment. But like I told a couple of reporters, is that week it's still a football field, and it doesn't matter what's outside of those lines. It's just who's on the field at the time.
Perry, head coach for its football team, Zach Slates, is here with us now. Coach, we mentioned Tom Benson. You guys actually had a matchup there last week with Clarkson North, from a team that actually crossed the Canadian border over into Ohio, and that was a 26-21 final that you guys unfortunately were on the short end of. What were some of the key factors in the game that Clarkson North had that you guys just weren't able to unfortunately overcome?
Yeah, I mean, and from the beginning when we scheduled them, I knew they were a good team. They beat Ignatius in 2019. I mean, they played Menor and Eds and Ignatius every year. They played IMG last year. They're going to play DeMatha. I mean, they play a huge schedule, and their guys. I mean, they got good players, and it was a question mark for us because with a school like that, they recruit from all over the world, so they have kids from all over the place, and in the past 2 years, is because of COVID, they weren't able to get kids into the country. So I knew there was going to be some question marks on their roster as to who was going to be on the team. And obviously they were able to get some guys in this year. And I mean, their offensive line averaged about 300 pounds across the board, and their defensive line was 280. I mean, they were big boys. I mean, they got a DN going to Virginia Tech. So it's not like, I mean, we played some Canadian teams in 2017, and it's not the same team. I mean, they're like the IMG of Canada, essentially. So, I mean, they have some good players, and they're coached well, and yeah, I mean, they came out in the second half and they did what we wanted to do. They kept the ball, and they used the play clock, and they milked it and kept the ball out of our hands.
Well, Coach, finally, you guys currently standing at 2-1 going into your next game. And throughout this rest of the year, I mean, you've actually now matched your win total from the previous season, now in your second run with the Panthers. And when you saw the results from last season and you saw many of the guys be able to come back and build upon what you were able to accomplish in year one, where do you want this team to end up in I mean, obviously, when I say that, you want them to end up in the playoffs, you want to end up with a winning record. But what is the biggest thing you want your kids to gain from this year, especially those that have the opportunity to come back for their potentially junior or senior years?
I mean, we preach the same thing every week, and it's just building leadership and the team aspect. And this team has done a really good job of buying into that and being a team and understanding the brother part of it, and busting their butts for the guys next to them, not just because it's for themselves. And we got some really good leaders on this team, so I've been really pleased with these guys. They're a good group to be around, and they work hard. So yeah.
Well, Coach, we really appreciate you taking the time today to join us, and obviously, best of luck to you and your team the rest of the year.
Thank you.